G'day guys and welcome to a preview for Doncaster today. I apologise if I don't sound the best, it's been a long week, but try and push through this huge 10 race card. Hopefully we'll have a bit of luck, because I think we'll certainly need a little bit considering the field sizes and how competitive the races looking. Find a rail true today, and no rain for the last week or so. Still a good 4. Has been a bit of racing on the track, and Randwick still, I hope they haven't put water on it, but it would never surprise you. Expecting it to still get off the fence there in the straight. I think they'll probably want to get sort of 4, 5, 6 off in the straight if possible. I don't think it's possible for it to be fence good, but we'll keep a close eye on it, because the track has been a little bit erratic since they messed with that inside track there, the Kensington. But since they put it back down, it seems to be back to its old self, which is a little bit off the inside in the straight. I think on pace definitely won't hurt you. It can be the place to be, but these big fields usually do generate good pressure, and hopefully the track plays pretty consistently and pretty fair overall. First race of the day, Kindergarten Stakes. Enbahar comes up favourite 6 to 4, $2.60. Bottom horse, Ennis Hill, $5.50. Lean Machine, $5.50. Legend of Condor, $5.50. Having a quick look at the map, it's not totally clear cut. I know this horse, Legend of Condor, sort of draws to want to push forward, but I know they're desperate to get a sit with it. I'd say they'll come out fairly neutral and hope to find a position. The horse that I hope that they're really positive on, Enbahar, definitely has clearly the best form lines leading in. Tough on pacer that can be ridden back and finish off. It's got both attributes. Obviously 42 days between runs and a trial is a query, but this horse certainly looks to have the right form lines to justify its price. Looking for dangers, I thought Legend of Condor's not that well set up. 4 weeks between runs, 4th run into its preparation, and will need a sweet run. If it lobs in a solid position, probably an each way chance. The Melbourne horse Ennis Hill looks to get a right run, but I'm not too fussed on the way it's hit the line its last few starts. I thought that the two that probably could improve were Stunts, another horse that needs to sort of find a position but does have some speed there. So it isn't a clear-cut map, and that's what makes this race even uglier than probably trying to predict the form. And Lean Mean Machine, who's coming off a maiden win at Warwick Farm that was fairly dominant after being sort of ridden back and then chiming in early and strong late, so it looks suited up to the 1100. It's a horse that definitely has upside, but it's just a matter of where it gets to in the run as well. I think Enbahar's short enough not to really be too excited about betting into it with the 42-day break, even though it's got obviously got good ability. I'm not sure whether they'll be going forward or back. I'm not sure whether a few runners will be going forward or back here. It's quite an ugly race. Nothing stands out at a value price to be backing it sort of each way. So to me, it's a race that looks well and truly a stay away from race. I'll probably just watch it for the pattern and see how we go. So not a very super confident way to start the day, but it is what it is. Race 2, Carbine Club Stakes. Couple of scratchings, Angels Boy and 1-5 Beach. Very open race early in betting with Holy Snow favourite around 420, Assimilate 550, then a bunch of horses, Villamont, Bojest, Sambro, Dissolution, Sondalon, all around the $7, $8, $9 mark. I couldn't buy 15, 16 to 1, think straight $18. Even Charlie Chap 67, he's the roughie of the field, but he's certainly got his fair share of ability. This is a pretty good race. I think I'm going to play with the on paces simply because the tempo looks quite clear cut. It looks like Sondalon will head forward, and the horses like Dissolution and Think Straight, or probably more Dissolution, will definitely follow it across. Then you've got a couple of other runners in Icon to Dubai and probably Sambro kicking up the inside. There's ideally going to look for cover anyway. So even if Dissolution's left outside Sonderlon, I think these two horses can basically control the speed and get first shot at sort of racing away. Clearly more impressed by the way Dissolution's come back this time in. He's really been dominant in the two 1400 metre wins at Warwick Farm, sitting outside the speed, at least on the turn at Warwick Farm, and last time throughout on solid tempos and put the race away quite early in the straight, strong to the line, very good sign. Was a listed runner-up at Randwick last preparation over the mile, so I don't think the mile's going to hold him up. He looks well and truly a better horse this preparation after being gelded, and I think $9.50 about him is a great price. Sonderlon's at his third run over the mile this preparation, not that easy to do, and I think this horse may just get over him late, Dissolution, who's sitting on him, so looking for dangers from behind. And I thought Beau Jest was given a pretty average ride last week. If the two stablemates were in similar positions on the turn, and this one went to the outside, one went in, if we'll sort of watch here consciously, obviously not ever going to be an easy task from this position to get to the middle. Osmond Balls had a better shot at getting out there, but he just had eyes for the inside all the way. To me, it smelt of a run that was building towards the 7 day back up here, and not sort of knocking this horse around, more giving him the appropriate hit out to improve this week. So he looked pretty plain there, but I'm expecting improvement. Getting to the outside here, draws a perfect gate to settle sort of forward of midfield, hopefully, and get first crack at them. I think Holy Snow and Villamont, well, Villamont not so much, he raced sort of more on pace than Holy Snow, but yeah, Holy Snow is going to get back and give these a start. He's obviously his form, is very good. Only been just run down by Unforgotten there late last time with a good gap behind. Well set up and should run well. But and Villamont's back from the 2000, should be strong on pace. It's quite a competitive race. I just feel that definitely Dissolution's well and truly over the odds around the $9.50 mark, but there are a bunch of chances. Even Iconic can bounce back from line at $17, even though that form's a little bit dicey now with that Leningrad form not quite holding up, and Iconic looking a little bit one-paced second up. So I still think it's value around the $17 mark, especially if they head forward. Race 3, PJ Bell Stakes. This is extremely tough. Yulong Zheng and Warranty to Scratchings. Sort of heading down the page. Catchy's got that Group 1 weight for age form last start, which is usually good for a 3-year-old filly heading back to its own grade. 11 Gate is a bit of a nightmare, not sure where she ends up. Frolic was very good first up, failed second up, trialled very well since, tongue tie off. Back in Trip, a query, third run in with a trial, with a few trials, and 1200 metres on a dry track's not ideally what you'd see her for, but this Gate 1 with Collider will ride for luck, you know. He's got no issue doing that. It can sort of feature at odds. Banish I can't find, Hootson I can't find, Devonelli I can't find. She's So High was extremely dominant first up, obviously in the right part of the track there that day, but did put them right away. Promised to be a nice filly last preparation, racing against the best that Melbourne had to offer. Out to a mile Group 1 grade, obviously it's last start before the first up run this time in, and you know, mixed it with them, but did look a length or two short. The way it's come back, it may have sort of peaked into that level now. It could have easily improved, so I'm very wary of it, even though it's drawn quite poorly. I can see it sort of certainly chiming in, and there's plenty of pressure in this race that should allow the back markers into it late. Demerara is obviously now a much stronger filly this prep also. I can see a few getting over the top of her and out to 1200. They might catch up with her. She's a 1200 metre listed, the winner in filly's grade at Rose Hill. Not here. Draws nicely to get first shot at the leaders, but a little bit wary that a few might get at her late. Still, she's going to be the one to chase down, you would imagine. True Excelsior was basically handed the race at Moonee Valley last start. I'm around it here. It's definitely not going to get that same conditions as it found last start. Charlene's very interesting horse first up. Only the one trial after 63 days off, 1200 metres fresh. Probably a little bit vulnerable with some very classy types having better setups here, and also like strong types that she definitely looks. I'd be surprised if she gets over them, but I think she's definitely one to watch for the future, and should run a very bold race. I just don't think today's the day for her. Manicure was huge first up, and again draws terribly. Another tough task, but around the mark. Problem Solver's got good form, but 50 days between runs is not an easy task here. Sweet Deal's honest, Denigan's honest, Dyslexic's honest, all these horses are honest. Rotterdam's first up from a break, and also looks to have ability after winning over 1,000, goes to 1,200 first up here. So many queries here. I can't really find anything at value that I want to step into. If I had to have one better to be, she's so high, regardless of price, but it does look short enough in a field where there's so many queries, so many strong types. I think the winning chances are that a Catchy, Frolic, She's So High, Demerara, Charlene the Knockout, and I'm throwing Stratum Charge in at 100s down the bottom in my exotics, and Rotterdam's a big watch as well. It's just a nightmare race. Race 4, Country Championships Final. No scratchings other than the emergencies, and another ugly race for mine. The way I do racing sort of is a little bit more feel than most, and there's certain things that I don't like that make it difficult to win. Setups mainly. Most of these horses in this race have that. So we've got Suncraze has won 12. Had a trial in between, then won at 14. Really has turned into a more dour type this time. I think it really won that race last time because it was pace assisted to a certain degree. Those on pace, especially Careless Choice, knocked up clearly, and Suncraze got over him late because of that. It's very hard to chime into a horse off that sort of run. At a short price here, like $4.20 we're talking about, it wasn't even money that day. Does look well set up to a degree, should be sort of midfield, he should get pace on, and will be winding up in strong late. So not saying it can't win, but I think $4.20 is about right. I'm just not too excited by it. So I think I've got it marked close to $6 or $7. Careless Choice, I think beats it last start if it's got the fitness base. There is a worry that he'll be a little bit more dour second up at the same trip, but I think that if they've kept him fresh enough here, that the speed on and the gate and everything will suit him. So I think he's the clear value at $11. Don't Give a Damn's just better than these, but we've got Danny Williams coming out and saying he was only 60% fit last week, couldn't put shoes on him until very late, had to get a farrier in the day before who did a miracle job to get him to the track. You saw him parade just about lame before the run last week, and then come out after it and look lame for sure. He was a very angry horse, looked to be struggling to get his feet on the ground there at a couple of points. I know Danny's again come out and said now that he's miraculously improved. An absolute stack, looks enormous. Everything's fine, everything's perfect. I'm highly dubious of what's going on with this horse. I can't really work it out, and it's going to put me off the whole race, because if this horse shows up in good form, he'll beat them. He'll sit sort of on pace and just off the pace and win. He's a better horse than these horses. It's just a matter of if everything is fine with him, which is just so hard to believe, knowing what horses with feet issues and how they usually respond and race while they've got the issues is extremely difficult to work out what happened last week and how well he went, because he did run time. He's now got to back up 6 days later, rise in distance and do it all again. So I've got him marked favourite, but on the understanding that if he ran last, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So Snits I can't have, especially from the gate, coming down from northern New South Wales, Victorium. So it's 27 days, Snits that is. I can't really find him, especially at the price he is. He seems quite short. Victorium I've got all the time in the world for as a horse, but now goes 48 days between runs with 1 trial, 1 soft trial. Rises 200 metres in distance to a distance he has not taken on before. He's never gone past 1200. Obviously a good enough win there, but against a slow tempo too, which was pretty impressive. I think he's got the ability, but it will take a great training effort. I have to risk him. My Taggerson's the other horse that I can find, along with Careless Choice, as the value in the race. $27 seems a big price. He ran on extremely well against the slow tempo. And, it was an evenish to the fastest tempo last week, but it was a mad inside fence bias there at Muswellbrook. It was significant. Out to 1400 is much more attractive for this horse. The blinkers obviously set him up very well for this, and I'm sure they would have rather have him coming in on that run, but if that run hasn't hurt him and he's even come on from it again, which wouldn't surprise me because he's had pretty soft racing his first 3 runs in, he can run extremely well at 25 to 1. Gets very thin after that. I thought Acquittle's got ability certainly, but 42 days between runs, synthetical filler. Pumpkin Pie also faces the 42 days. Obviously would have had jump outs down there at Goulburn, but not the same thing as racing for mine when you're coming in against this level of runners. Pumpkin Pie is the one that I think over the two that he certainly had a better preparation and would have been looked after more, and can run extremely well here. I think the winning chances are Don't Give a Damn clearly, but it's a first or last proposition. I think Sun Craze and Careless Choice should be similar in price, and I think my Taggerson should be around the sort of $12, $14 mark, and he's $27, so he's a little bit more value than the others for mine, along with Careless Choice. If I'm having a play, it'll be tiny, the two of them, and probably throwing them in a Quinella with Don't Give a Damn, so that I don't get too angry when it shits in and I'm against it like I was last Sunday. Race 5. Chairman's Quality. We won't spend too much time on this race because I really don't have a good handle on it. I'll just run down the page and sort of give my overall opinion. I thought the Ventura Storm certainly comes out of the strongest race, but only sort of bat away there last start, and really does need to somehow appreciate a significant class drop. Obviously gets a bit more weight, but deserves it here. Not sure it's going as well as it can. Master of Arts will run well. He's well set up. Obviously ran well last week and was probably a little flattered to win, but still did the job and got up on speed and ran well. Sir Charles Road, Zacata, I thought was the less of the two from Sir Charles Road, and coming out of the same race, I thought Sir Charles Road definitely had the nod, so having it marked quite short here, I'm shorter than Zacata of the two. Sismontane does look the leader. Waterhouse horse back to its home track. Couldn't see how it had been that well backed, and thought it faced a tough task here. Allwood's obviously the horse on the rise with a bit of quality to it that looks like one that can make the staying grade. Obviously given a pretty average ride last start where it should have probably won the race, just wasn't put into the race at all until too late. You expect McAvoy to give it a much better ride. Double Bluff is an extremely honest dry tracker. 26 days and dropping heavily in distance, probably at the place he's chanced. I thought Admiral Jello went really well last start back on the inside there and wound up quite well. I thought 2600 will really suit him. Just a little bit surprised they've found him in the market. If he had been sort of 20-25 to 1, I would have definitely entertained having something on him. Probably $11, $12 is about his right price. Peribson's really tough one batter. He's going to run well and just keep coming. $9 fair enough for him. Wheel Leisure was just okay, I thought, last start, and really needed to show a little bit more. And the Dukan Nut Cups nose. Imperial Aviator I missed. Ran well enough and can't knock it at 20 to 1. Or Mito's form is solid. Comes out of the Adelaide Cup last start. Should battle away. Can't really find it off that break. Probably better for the run. And Domes is just an interesting horse down the bottom. 700 metres up in trip. Really difficult to work out how it's going to run. It obviously reverts to the previous rider that has had a few issues riding this horse, so it's hard to find it with any confidence, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ran well. Allwood clearly on top, has a perfect setup and obviously racing well, but similar to its market price. Admiral Jello can run well, Peribson can run well, Sir Charles Road can run well, Master of Arts can run well. Obviously Ventura Storm has the quality to really improve. I think anything can win, and I've got absolutely no interest in betting the race whatsoever. Race 6 size produce. Sorry, I'm just going to turn on and get rid of the scratchings. Tally and Fanatic, the two horses that come out. Tally, I didn't. Sorry, hang on, am I going? No, Tally and Fanatic are out of the last race. No scratchings out of the. Sorry, I'm just going to get rid of them out of the system. Who comes up favourite? Obviously, still a maiden, but its runs have been quite good in all sorts of grade. Obviously, never raced in maiden grade. Listed Group 3, Group 2, Group 1, Group 1. Had the 28 days between last runs and hit the line extremely well. Esther Jarb sort of looked to fight it off last start. I thought it was going well enough to really nearly win there at about 100, 200 out. So it's racing extremely well. Obviously draws awkwardly, but Zach Purton aboard should be fine. There is an issue with the speed in this race, which makes it a little bit ugly. A lot of runners sort of want to settle in that middling position. A couple drawn wide. I think the tempo will be okay, but it's tricky, which is bad for Seabrook and Longleaf, who draw the inside gate. So I think that Uhud's definitely the horse to beat. Should find clearer running than these two. If they get luck in running, they can definitely run well. They've got similar form lines coming out of the slipper. Obviously, both of these Seabrook and Longleaf came from back and wide. I thought Seabrook had its chance a little bit more than Longleaf did, but should be similar today because of their racing patterns. Seabrook can settle a little bit closer. Again, going down the page, couldn't really find Encryption 27 days off a Black Opal win where it was a little bit flattered. Not a single sense, not one that I could find. I thought it was 2-1 paced, 4 weeks between runs. Spin with the blinkers on, raced well last week. The rider dropped the whip, which who knows what it cost it, but it did seem to sort of peak a bit late there, so maybe it can be fitter and blinkers back on can peak. Draws nicely, can run well. I thought Bondi was just only fair last start, an easier grade breaking through. Can't find it. Tchaikovsky's the one I can find from that stable. Will roll forward, has good speed and should run well, I think. Give him something to chase. I was a huge fan of Outrageous early in its preparation, but it's had a terrible prep, and I've just got to it's a terrible setup, not prep, and have to be against it here, even though I'm not surprised if it runs well. I think Ragged Rascal's the huge value runner of the race, 16 to 1 a place, looks enormous. Did really hit the line there late in a sneaky fashion, and didn't draw well. Should be running well here. Ring a Ding Ding looks value. Thought it was enormous last start, ridden quite poorly or had a tough run. Wasn't really the ride, just a tough situation. And it could roll forward here and run a really honest race at 25 to 1. I was on a Dana for a really good result at short odds, over 1100 just 10 days ago. A little bit surprised to see it jumping to the 1400 here, but not surprised to see it run well. I'll have a heart attack if it looms up in Group 1 grade after getting beaten in a maiden, but it's not impossible, especially from that stable. And then we get down to Hood and Seabrook, who looked at clearly two best set up runners in the race to run well, but where are they going to be in the run is the problem. They both look to give starts to some decent enough types. I think it's between sort of Uhud, Seabrook, Tchaikovsky, Ring a Ding Ding. I think Spin will run well as well, and Longleaf needs luck from back in the field. Tricky race, not too much value there for mine to want to really get involved in the bottom end of the market. If I was having a bet, I'd certainly be having something on Tchaikovsky around the 10 to 1 mark, and Ring a Ding Ding 25s, and Ragged Rascal a tiny bet to win and a solid bet to place at 16 to 1. Doesn't seem a silly idea for me either. Derby and the bottom two come out, which are the emergencies. Click on the race. Plenty of different ways to attack this race. I thought Ace High is well and truly short enough. I'll probably just run down the page. Been to Dance. I definitely had a tough run the other day, Ace High, and battled away well. I'm just not convinced that he's got the dominance he had in the spring over them. And a few have come on, and there's a bit of new blood here, and I just think that he's well and truly short enough. I think I've got him marked around $10. Vin to Dance is just a war horse, very stiff to take second off him, even though Furo probably beats him home, but he definitely didn't deserve to be running fourth. On pacer that is just super tough, and he's going to be putting in his best effort here. I think he's a solid winning chance. tangled. He's just an ugly little, not ugly horse. He's just a nightmare of a horse that pops up when you least expect him, and expecting him to certainly be thereabouts. But I can't. Not a horse I can entertain backing. Mongolian Conqueror was pretty solid late there the other day in a race. I may as well show the replays here quickly, just the last part. So horses to highlight. Vinda Dance third the fence. In behind here we've got Ace High 3 wide outside them. Vinda Dance in behind here. Villamont goes back in trip. The horse that I'm interested in a lot is this horse in green with the reddish cap or pink cap, I'm not sure what it is, tangled back here. Just want to show why I'm interested in this horse in the green cap. I thought that he's here and he's just really negatively ridden. He was sort of up on speed earlier. Here he is here. Ends up drifting right back to near last. I'm hoping they hold a more forward position this time. Anyhow, it gets back in the field. Here we go. Here's D'Argento, who drops back to the mile race. This is Mongolian Conqueror. Mission Hill's inside it. A few roars trying to get that run through. Vinda Dance tangled up the fence. Ugly across the line here. This is Ace High copping a bump from the lead at Cliff's Edge. I just thought this horse racing in restricted room and being ridden back in the field, and he was the one who could really improve. He was very unlucky in the New Zealand Derby. The other horse that certainly was unlucky and can improve is Furore. What a horse it's turned out to be. Should nearly be unbeaten. You can imagine it could have been in the finish there, the way it was sort of building through its gears. It's definitely that sort of horse. It's definitely a line chaser. We're talking Tari, Cessnock, Gosford Wong, Rosehill Guineas. It seems a pretty special little horse that can certainly run well here. I think the Lavendi form and that race is probably not the race. And I think Weather for You's the one, if there is one to come out of that race that can run well. Obviously this horse, Belfast, finished off quite well, but there was a pretty solid tempo there, and he looks like the horse that's going to get back out of his ground again, and got some quality horses from that Rosehill Guineas race to get past if he wants to win. I think I'm going to head the sort of opposite way there. So we've got... Sorry, just got distracted. So I'm away from that form. So Lavendi Astoria, I'm going to be around. I think Furore will run extremely well. Salsamore, I think around its prices 20 to 1 seems okay. Weather for You 20 to 1 seems big odds, especially from that inside gate. You know he's going to be there and battling away. He and Vinda Dance are the two I think will be up on speed and battling hard. Ace High will be there as well, obviously, but a quarter of their price, or half the price of Vinda Dance and a quarter of the others. The beauty of Vinda Dance over it, I think it just has a little bit more quality than Weather for You, but if he runs along, he'll certainly give him something to chase. Lord Mayor ran fourth there last week. He ran fourth in the Derby, but then came out last week and ran 11th in town here. I can't see him improving enough. Mission Hill, as I've talked about, I think it's clearly one of the horses to beat, if not the horse to beat in the race. Not surprised if Endowment runs well. Belfast, we've talked about, seems short enough around the $11 mark for mine. Mongolian Marshall, off on the quick back up, can improve, but needs to. I think it's gun to my head. I'm saying Mission Hill from Furore. Not much in between them there. It's only the long first prep that scares me. Vinda Dance right there. Ace High should run well, but I can't have it at the price, and probably Weather for You is the other one I'm throwing in at the value. Good little derby, very competitive, but I think the two line chasing types that'll be in striking position are Furore and Mission Hill. Belfast probably coming from the back, and Mongolian Conqueror I just think's just a little bit behind Mission Hill, but can see him running well too. Vinda Dance up on the speed and really kicking hard and giving them something to chase. Open race. TJ Smith got a little bit less complicated race here. It's really hard to see anything away from In Her Time or Redzel winning this, I think, unless they really overdo it up front and bring in the likes of English. Redzel should be right there. I'm not sure whether Jungle Edge or Global Glamour have the speed to cross him, otherwise he sits just outside or behind them. 1200's probably, I'm not saying the end of his range, but the way he races these days, he's a 4-time winner at the distance from only 6 attempts, so he's definitely going to run well. You know that from him. Global Glamour crosses, I think it's a sneaky little chance. Freshened up a touch, obviously got good fitness base in the legs, and 16 to 1 or whatever she is at the moment seems fair enough price. And then we've got In Her Time stalking in behind. I thought Zach Burton would remain on the horse. It was just such a great ride last start. Obviously, same manager and good friends, and all tied in with the stable, I believe. So no surprise to see Corey back on the horse, but just hope that Zach would maintain the ride, and I'd have a little bit more confidence, especially with Corey riding sort of 50 kilos today. This horse is not the easiest horse to ride, and even though she looks extremely well placed to just lob right behind the speed here and just be looking for a run and challenging, I would have preferred a little bit stronger rider aboard late in the piece. So I think that detracts from her chances, but she's still right there, just too well set up not to run well. And English is obviously airborne for mine, probably should have just about won last start, and it just draws a horrible gate again and gives them a start. So Redzell clearly the horse to beat. In Her Time clearly the danger. Global Glamour and English from the Waterhouse camp, the two horses that wouldn't surprise me winning. I think Brave Smash is sort of going to get back on the inside here, and I think is not quite as good a horse to mine as In Her Time, Redzell or English. So I'd be against it a little bit. If there's one to leave out of the quaddie, it's probably a competitive race, but good race. Doncaster Mile, it just keeps coming this meeting. Huge fields. Again, I'll try and skip through it as much as I can without doing it no justice. Humidor, 21 days between runs, blinkers on, extremely solid win last start, and you know he's a high quality horse drawn ideally to settle midfieldish and be coming with a strong run. He's right in this race. Happy Clapper draws ideally to be sitting just behind the speed. It's amazing that, I'm not saying there's a lack of tempo in the Doncaster, but there doesn't look a huge competition for the front. You know, there'll be pressure nice and early building, but it's certainly far from a high-speed Doncaster on paper. Happy Clapper should settle just in behind sort of the first 4 or 5 somewhere, and just need a little bit of luck to get out at the right time, but he looks extremely well set up. Endless Drama I can't have at this level. I think Prized Icon's huge odds, sort of 40 to 1 with the blinkers back in trip. He's a high-quality horse that's been racing against the high-quality runners, you know, this preparation. Coming back from Group 1 grade against Galo Chop and Single Gaze last start. He can run well here. I think he's an each-way hope and a live winning chance at 40s. Crack me up, so honest. He's going to get back and give some good horses a start here. I don't think he's quite got the quality to run over them. Invincible Gem can improve and run into the placing sort of things, but I think it probably faces a tough task here. Tom Melbourne's a nightmare of a horse, so consistent, but so consistent in not winning. Kementari, it just worries me a little bit at the mile at this level. I thought he was not given a great ride last week, but did flatten out a little bit late there. Obviously drops 4.5 kilos for that, but just against seasoned opposition here, I doubt that he can be as dominant at the mile as he is against 3-year-olds, or was against 3-year-olds 2 runs back in the Randwick Guineas. He draws the gate that he needed to. I'm not surprised if he wins, but I can't see why he's favourite, and I can't mark him anywhere near that price, so I have to be against him a little bit by default. I think coming through can race more forward today, and is a very honest type that will battle on. He's a horse that won't surprise me if he wins, but I don't think he'll win by a big margin if he does. Lanciato, I've been pretty publicly opinionated about how good this horse is going. He's strung together, 3 in a row, since a narrow defeat first up, which was also a great effort. He's put in 5 of his last 6 he's won. There's just no knock on this horse. The rider, Rachel King's got an affinity with the horse. It's a very one-dimensional horse that's going to get back and run on. But if there's a bit of pressure and she sneaks a bit of luck, she can be very strong late. I thought Egg Tart's trial was great, and the blinkers go on here. since its last run, and I can't understand why it's 40s. I think that's value. Albeit Sam will be up on speed and battle on. It's a tough task for him. It's his acid test, but good luck to him. I hope he runs well for connections. And Mr. Seawolf, no. Cool Chap, no. D'Argento's an interesting horse, backed just as if unbeatable in the Rosehill Guineas. Got the job done, even though maybe a little bit flattered with a great ride. I'm not sure back to a mile looks ideal. He just looked to be sort of building through his gears there the other day, and looking like he would be extended in trip, but it's hard to knock Chris Waller and his team for their decision making and the way they prepare their horses for these grand finals. I'm often very aware of horses going from 2000 back to the mile. It's usually a good setup, especially at Randwick in a high pressure mile. So again, he's similar to Kementari for me. I'm not too sure about that 3-year-old grade stepping up against some pretty quality horses here. And I'm not surprised if it wins, but I'm betting around it. I really do think Humidor is the horse to beat, along with Happy Clapper. They're really high quality weight for age runners that are drawn well here and look fair enough weighted. I think the big price value runner that's probably double its price is Lanciato, coming through. He's short enough for me, but I can see it winning. And I think Egg Tart's the other knockout runner at say 40s that just looks extremely well placed to improve significantly off a nice trial. But you expect a horse that's fit to trial well, but that's sort of kind of my opinion. And Prized Icon, the other one, I'm certainly throwing in at 33 to 1 in All Exotics. So another recap: Happy, Clapper and Humidor, Lanciato, the three on toppers. I'm leaving the 3-year-olds out, and I'm scared of that, but I'm throwing in sort of Egg Tart and coming through for the next position with Prized Icon. So that's 6, and that's probably enough. If you want to throw the 3-year-olds in the trifectas as well for the minor placings, I can't knock that. But it's a good Doncaster mile, a great race, great betting, and I think there is a little bit of value to be had with those 3-year-olds taking up a little bit too much of the market than they probably should. Last race of the day, thank goodness, Adrian Knox Stakes. Lover missed the run last week, 22 days between runs, only had a little count issue, apparently a blood count issue, so all is on song apparently with it. The rising distance looks ideal. It's clearly the horse to beat, but does carry the 60 and gives 7 kilos away to the rest of the field, which is not easy. Raising, I'm saying, is a filly, and 2,000 metres is a big test. She's a Treasure looks a really talented horse from New Zealand. So obviously 37 days is not ideal between runs, but certainly was a bit stiff last time and dominant the start before that. Runs the trip out and should run well at odds. Wedgie will be right up there on the speed and give a good sight. It looks a horse that seems to be sort of going through its grades nicely, this preparation, and stepping up to quality as it goes up in distance, which is always good for fillies. They can seem to rise in quality if they can run the trips out. Harmattan I thought was extremely short. It's like $2.70 now, and even though its runs have all been pretty solid, ran really fast time its first run. Then it over 1200 stepped up to 14 and again won well with a decent time. Last time it had the pattern against it and certainly chased the line hard. In Group 3 level over a mile now, has to go to 2,000, does draw to sort of settle a little bit handier possibly. The pace of the race is not super clear. There is a bit of competition up front, but you can see it sort of lobbing in a midfield position behind a bit of speed that's drawn inside it. Can't get it as short as it is, that's for sure. Probably betting around it, but throwing it in the quaddie because it can obviously win. Chili Charchar's racing honestly, huge class rise. Aon Nares was just okay the other day, ready to improve now, but needs to. Missy Beale, I couldn't get that short to worry about it. Distinct Charm similarly. I think on 1-5 Beach is a horse on the up. Its win 2 starts ago was really, really good, and then a second to Temperado over the mile on a wet track down at Kembla was okay in a fast run race there. It's a smoky here. The stable, sort of perfect horse for that sort of stable to improve. Pretty to see, I couldn't find. Promise I couldn't find. Jungle Fish is a maiden that I could find. If it's down the outside, this horse can certainly run into it. And the bottom one I couldn't have. Roxanne's Global Sanction and Scratching. From a quaddie perspective, I'd nearly leave Harmattan out here and show some intestinal fortitude, but it would be scary coming to the last race, not having the favourite, who obviously is a horse on the rise. It's just so short. If I was going a wide quaddie, I'm throwing in I think She's a Treasure's the value runner of the race. I think Wedgie runs are well up on the speed, but there could be some pressure. Have to throw Lover in, and the two down the bottom that the lesser chances but can show up. Certainly a 1-5 Beach and Jungle Air. If you're going a little bit narrower, you probably throw the top 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're happy to throw Harmattan in. If you want to go a little bit wider, I'm throwing in 1, 2, 3, 9, 13. Sorry it took a bit long to go through that, but it was a heck of a meeting to get through, and hopefully we have a bit of luck. There do look decent betting opportunities on the day, but I'm really wary of queries everywhere, and you just want to be playing value today. It's hard to step into too many favourites throughout the day for mine, but good luck to everyone, and hopefully we have a bit of joy. Thanks, guys.